Okay. All right. And so we've got, can you hear us now, Tracy?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, good. Uh, David and Andrew, don't see your pretty picture, your faces, but I now see David and Andrew. So can we all hear each other?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear. I can hear you.
Okay. So why don't we call this meeting to order? And the first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call. Unfortunately, Sammy took ill today, so he's not here. Amber will be in a second to assist me. I am Jeff Kurtz. I am the project coordinator and the staff liaison to the Finance Advisory Committee. I will begin with seat 1, which is Sue Cassiopo.
Very good.
Thank you.
That doesn't happen.
We have a seat 2, Tracy Rafowitz, appearing by Zoom. Frederick Hu is, I don't see Freddie. We have, I'm sorry, your name.
My name is Peter Lamuto, fellow at UTO.
Yes, and Peter is appearing. He is a proposed member of the FAC. He has not been formally appointed at this point in time, but we will sit and let him participate. If there is any vote as of yet, you would not be able to vote on the matter. So just wanted to make that clear. We do have a quorum because there are 3 members present. And the first order of business is the swearing in of those of you who are appointed. And actually, the way it's going to work, Tracy, and Manish, even though you have been members of this board before, you are appointed by new council members, or at least new council members to appointing you as individuals. And so your position is tied now to their term of office. So you are considered new and will have to be sworn in. And Sue, you are new to the committee. So if you could all raise your right hand. And I think you have the oath of office in front of you. And if you could, I state your name,
I, Tracy Rafowitz,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, protect, and defend
protect and defend
the Constitution and government of the United States
the Constitution and government of the United States
and the state of Florida
and the state of Florida
and the charter of the town of Loxahatchee Groves,
and the charter of the town of Waxahachie Groves.
that I am duly qualified to hold office
I am duly qualified to hold office
under the Constitution of the state of Florida and the charter of the town of Loxahatchee Groves,
under the state of Florida and the charter of Waxahachie Groves.
and that I will well and faithfully perform
I will and faithfully perform
the duties of committee member
the duties of committee member
upon which I am now about to enter.
on now about to enter.
Okay. And Peter, you will have to do that again next time when you're officially there, but that was good practice for everybody. And the three of you are now officially sworn in several times for Manish and Tracy. And Sue, welcome aboard. Okay. Now, amongst yourselves, the next order of business is the selection of a chairperson. And once again, from a voting perspective, at this point, Peter, you're not able to vote. And I don't know if we want to take care of this now, but if you're ready to, motion to appoint, which is like a nomination, would be in order.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Manoush.
Do we
Somebody
have
has to
a,
second it.
I
Do
will
it-
second that.
all right. Are there any other motions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Manish, you are unanimously named the chairman, and I will turn this agenda over to you. The next item would be the appointment of a vice chair.
Thank you. I would like to propose Tracy to be the vice chair. She has experience with work with this committee. So with that, I would like to propose Tracy to be the vice chair. And we would like to second. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. All right.
Thanks, Manoush.
All right. With respect to the presentations that we have on the agenda, and I know you got these numbers just over the weekend, and I just recently discovered that the 331 numbers were not included. I think that's been sent to you. We had just received the 331 numbers on the afternoon of Friday. And with respect to the audit presentation, we do have Andrew Fearman here from our auditors. It is a draft at this point in time. He will reflect and advise you that I think he's going to advise you that there's not going to be a substantive change with respect to their conclusions, and that they are winding down the audit process and expect to issue in the next week or so. But we wanted to to get that out there. David Delina from Projected Point will go over the quarterly reports and be able to answer questions that you may have. We understand that, it may be necessary or advisable for you guys to get together in the upcoming weeks to more fully review these numbers, but we had this meeting scheduled, did not want to miss it to get this year started off. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fearman, unless you have any questions or comments at this point in time.
I just have one comment, if you could give us a 30,000 feet close. Big picture, and I think we didn't have time to review this, as you know, we were still going today. So, but if you could help us with the big picture, then we can go into detail subsequently. I see that you have included balance sheet and cash flow statements for the first time, which is very welcome. So we appreciate it, but yeah, I think all of us are looking forward to good people. Welcome.
We can't hear him at all, just so you know.
Was his mic on? Or, yeah, we couldn't hear anything.
Okay, hello?
No.
Andrew, I still see you as being muted. It's going to be Andrew's presentation on this at this point. Can you?
Yes. Yeah, I can still begin my presentation.
Can everybody hear him? We can hear you here. Tracy, you good?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, great. Well, for the record, my name is Andrew Fearman, and I'm a partner with Caballero, Fearman, Llerena and Garcia, or CFLG for short. I am the partner in charge of the town's audit, and I'm here to provide a brief presentation on the town's annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year September 30th, 2024. As Jeff mentioned, this is a draft. We don't expect any significant changes to it. We are in the process, as you mentioned, of completing the audit process, getting the final items incorporated, getting the final reviews in and everything like that. But we do not expect any substantive changes to this report, which is why we feel comfortable presenting this draft to you today of the results. So the first thing that I'd like to point out, and I'm going to go with the PDF pages, the page numbers down at the bottom that have been created for the agenda item. So it's going to be the agenda item page 20 is the first item I'd like to point out within the document. That is the auditor's report, and it is broken up into various sections. What I'd like to do is just kind of point out a few of the sections, kind of what they are, and paraphrase a couple of things within our report. The first section is the opinion section. It's the most important section. It talks about what we've audited as well as what our opinion is on the financial statements. And that states that we have audited the accompanying financial statements of the town of Loxahatchee Girls, Florida, as of and for the fiscal year September 30th, 2024. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the town as of September 30th, 2024. Now, that is an unmodified or a clean opinion. And that's, of course, the only opinion that you want on your financial statements. So the town does have a clean opinion on the financial statements once again this year. The next section talks about under what standards we performed our audit. It states that we conducted our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and government auditing standards. The third section gets into what management's responsibilities are for the financial statements, kind of making that distinction. It says that management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. The last section I'd like to point out is at the bottom of that page, the last section, which is the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements. And that states what our responsibilities are as auditors. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement and to issue an auditor's report that includes our opinions. The next section that I'd like to get into after our auditor's report there is I'd like to go right to the financial statements, which begin on page 24. That's 24 of the agenda item. And that runs to page 32. So within this section here, from basically 24 to 32, on this item 6 includes the basic financial statements. This includes the government-wide statement of net position, statement of activities, as well as the fund financial statements for the governmental and the proprietary funds of the town. So the first part is basically the consolidation of the town's funds. And then the fund financials are the financial statements for the individual funds of the town. The one thing I'd like to point out within here is on page 26. Page 26 is the balance sheet for the governmental funds. And specifically the first column there in the balance sheet for the government funds, which is the general fund, which is the main operating fund of the town. And I'd like to point out the third line from the bottom, well, the second line from the bottom is total fund balances was approximately 2.5 million at the end of the year, and approximately 1.852 million of that was unassigned at year end. So that's where that was at September 30th, 2024. Kind of shows where the general fund stands at the end of the year. The next section that I'd like to point out begins on page 34. And that's page 34 of the agenda item, page 34. And that runs all the way to page 52. That section is the notes to the financial statements. This section includes the required disclosures which provide additional information on the town, as well as the numbers that are presented within the financial statements. Basically tells the whole story. It is suggested that you read the financial statements in conjunction with the notes, because the notes provide additional narrative detail to the numbers that are in the financial statements, as well as additional numerical detail. So it goes into further detail of what's within the financial statements. And just to give you an example of that, if you turn to page 41 within the notes to the financial statements, that is, I'm going to point out note 4, the capital assets of the town. And there's a total at the end, bottom right-hand corner of that chart. There's a total for the capital assets, which is approximately $9.8 million. Now, on the face of the financial statements, you'll see that $9,762,000. But within here, you get to see the detail. You get to see the detail of the beginning balance, what the increases were, what the decreases were. So kind of like a roll forward of the capital assets. In addition to that, you get to see the detail by types of capital assets. So it gives you that additional detail of what's presented within the financial statements. And again, it tells the whole story. The next section that comes after the financial statements is the required supplementary information. That begins on page 54. And that runs to page 62. So that's 54 to 62. So that includes information that the Government Accounting Standards Board requires you to include with your financial statements. It's not part of the basic financial statements, but that's what they call it, required supplementary information. It includes budgetary comparison information, as well as information on the pensions. The one thing that I'd like to point out here is on page 54, there's a lot of good information on this particular page is the budget to actual for the general fund. You have the opportunity to see what the original budget was, the original adopted budget, the final amended budget, compared to the actual results. So you're able to kind of see right there, snapshot of the general fund and what the results were for the general fund. So again, a lot of good information there on page 54 within the required supplementary information. Now I'd like to move to the last section of the document, which is the compliance section, which begins on page 66, runs to page 69. This section includes the reports that are required under generally accepted government auditing standards, as well as the rules of the Auditor General of the state of Florida. We are pleased to report this year that we did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control, nor did our tests find any instances of non-compliance. So overall, clean reports in the back, no findings to report to you after our audit work this year. I know as many of you know, the audit process takes a long time. It's a long process that we go through. We ask for information. Once we receive that information, we process it. We make selections. We ask for more information. Then we get that and we process it. And then we ask more questions. and get more clarification. So there's a really a back and forth process, and the town really was up to the task this year of providing us the information that we needed to be able to be in a position to render our opinion, to be able to be able to present this draft to you today, to be in a position, as Jeff said, to be able to cross our T's, dot our I's, and get everything issued. Like I said, sometime next week to be able to go and final issue on the financial statements so that the town can be complete once again with the audit process. Overall, I'd just like to thank the team there. Um, yeah, with Jeff and Francine and Chris and everyone else that assisted within the town for their cooperation assistance throughout the process. It was a clean audit this year. It was a smooth audit. And it really is a testament to the work that the town is doing to be able to get the financial statements in order and get the audit completed on a timely basis. So with that, I'll leave it there. I'd like to thank all of you as well for the opportunity to present this to you, to present our reports to you this evening, and as well for the hard work that you do, watching over the finances of the town. So with that, I'll leave it there and open it up to any questions that you may have at this time. Thanks again for the opportunity.
Can you hear me okay? Hello? Yes?
Sounds very low.
Can you hear me okay? Yes? Can you hear me okay? No?
It's very low.
Yeah, like with Jeff, it sounds very, very crisp and clear. I don't know if with those microphones.
I'll find
One
out.
sec.
Yeah, maybe with one of those.
Yeah, we'll switch.
Yeah. And I will warn you that this experiment sometimes blows up and we get a lot of reverberation. Hello, hello, hello.
Yes.
that good?
That works. Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. I asked, yes, can you hear me okay? Yes, testing.
Yes, we can hear
Good.
you.
Good. All right, I would like to invite any committee members for any high-level comments or questions. Maybe Tracy? Anything?
Honestly, I haven't had a chance to get through this. I'm out of town. It's 126 pages. I got through 53.
Got it. Anybody? You? No. About you? Any comments? No, not yet. Okay, let me ask you this. I assume you do similar audits for other cities, yes? Other towns of our size? Yes?
Yes, we do.
Did you find anything different or unique at Loxahatchee Groves as compared to other clients of yours?
From a different or unique. I mean,
In terms of
town.
accounting, in terms of controls, in terms of processes, accounting processes, treasury management, financial controls, you looked at whole host of things within your scope. Did you see anything different and unique as compared to other clients of yours that are similar in nature, similar size?
There was nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, every organization has its way of doing things, but it was nothing that was out of the ordinary. And ultimately the goal is to have those controls in place. So yeah, no, nothing specific comes to mind that was very different or unique.
Got it. And
Does
may
not
I ask?
doesn't mean it was bad, but there's nothing different or unique.
Okay. And may I ask, who did you report to at Loxahatchee Grovestown? Who do you report to for your project?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? I apologize.
I said, who did you report to? Who do you report to for this project, auditing project? Who do you report
So we
to at
report
the town?
we report to the council for the audit. We report to the council.
Okay. And when you said you received accounting information, financial information that you requested, who is your point of contact to provide that information?
So we received that information from Chris Wallace, as well as Francine, as well as Jeff. work together to provide us the information that we requested and required.
Okay, did you receive all the information out of the accounting system, or was there any manual adjustment required?
We did-
Or any additional input that was not in the accounting system? In other words, did you make sure that all this data that you are representing here is in our accounting system? It will match with our banking statement and accounting system.
Yes, that's correct. So we receive access to the accounting system to be able to make inquiries and run reports as well. So we were able to extract what we needed as part of that process as well. And yes, the answer is yes. The town's books and records agree to what we have within ours, which is what's within the financial statements.
So just so we understand, you're saying you verified that accounting system and banking statement have the same data that you used in your audit, correct?
That is correct, yes. And we look at the bank statements, we confirm the bank accounts, we review the bank reconciliations and ensure that what's in the system is what's also what we reviewed and is also what agrees or reconciles to the bank.
Okay, in terms of financial controls, you mentioned that you find it to be satisfactory. Could you, so I'm assuming you looked at the various, how much check amount somebody can sign and what is the procedures for, issuing payments and invoices and contracts and awards and everything. Is there any particular item within financial control that was concerning or that you would like us to look more into? Any areas of improvement for financial control or treasury management?
No, I mean, if we had something, it would have been reported within the compliance section, which we've had comments in the past, which have been corrected. So nothing this year based on our obtaining the understanding of internal controls, walking through those processes. Nothing came up that we need to report to you or to the council.
Okay. All right. With that, I think we all need time, as you heard from our colleagues. We really didn't have the time to go through it. So we are going to review it and we'll come back with proper questions. And thank you for sharing this detailed report. I'm very happy, individually speaking, that this looks pretty comprehensive, much better than the last year's report. So thank you for that. Good.
We will, when the final report is issued, we'll make sure to get you the actual audit document itself.
Okay.
And then we can.
Hey, Jeff, we can't hear you.
We'll talk about rescheduling.
Yeah, Jeff, we can't hear you on our end.
Yeah, we were just discussing after the end of the meeting, we will schedule a date to go into the detail when everybody have the chance to review the data. So, okay, the next item. Yes, please.
Another report, is there going to be any indication of changes?
No,
If
you wouldn't get a red line.
We won't get a red line from it, so we have to essentially go through it and check it again?
No, I think
You think this is pretty accurate and
Yes.
won't change that much? Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Tracy? Tracy, any other comments?
Tracy's on the call. I think she
Okay, all right.
she
that's all.
may have
So
fallen
the
off the call.
The next topic is a review of quarterly financial reports. Is that, you are going to cover that too? Or,
No, this is David. I guess I get to.
Andrew would be released and this would
Okay.
be
Cover that.
David Delaney. And it looks like Tracy is she had to leave, so right now technically we do not have a quorum. We can still continue the meeting, but we've lost our quorum at this point in time. But
I think at this time it's more information gathering, so we are not going to vote on any particular matter. So if you want to continue, I'm fine.
yeah.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's go over the quarterly. Please paint a 30,000 feet view. As I said before, we didn't have the time to go through the data, but give us the big picture and we'll come back to you prepared. So over to you.
Yeah, hi, my name's David. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, a little low, but we can.
So I've worked in public accounting for 17, 18 years, and I've been in local government for the last 12. And you know, I work for a lot of municipalities there in Palm Beach Gardens, or I'm sorry, not Palm Beach Gardens, Palm Beach County, including Highland Beach.
David, is
And,
there any way that you
so-
think you can increase your volume? It's a little low here. I don't know if that's
A little
your
low.
end or our end.
Let me see. Yeah,
Is
can
that
you hear me okay now, or? Can you hear me okay? Let me see.
It's still very low compared to everybody else, David.
Let's see. I got that maxed up there. Oh, that's off there. Let's see. This is maxed up here. Oh, let me see. Can you hear me now? Testing 1, 2, 3.
We can still hear you, but it's still very low.
Okay.
Raise that up, see if it is or our end.
I'll just try to, I'll get as close as possible.
Yeah.
Anyway, the financials here are, you know, I guess on page 72, that's where, that's kind of where we left off. You have, I guess, a list of the vendors and how much was paid, right, throughout from October 1st, 2023, all the way up through 2024. You can see that what we're going to work on is there are so many tools out there that are great that we can use a tool called Power BI to give you this data electronically, and not only for one period of time, but for multiple periods of time. And so that's one of our goals that we're going to try there. That way, in case you have questions, you can see how much a particular vendor, because really when you're looking at one number doesn't really tell you anything, right? You have to look at, well, is that number higher than last year, lower than last year, so on and so forth. And so we'll be automating this and putting this into a tool for the board to use in Power BI. So after you see that, you have several pages here. It is a lot of detail. Matter of fact, most of my other municipalities, they usually get a very summarized version of budget to actual and actual year to date. And it's typically only 3 pages. It's grouped up, it's summarized, and it's to the point to where you'll be able to tell how is the town doing compared to budget, how is each fund individually doing overall. The last I counted with the 20 new pages that they added, you know, we're up to 73 pages. In my opinion, it's just a lot of granular detail. You always have access to the detail, but when you're trying to look at data, financial reports, for example, even the audit with the notes to the financial statement, that there was a total of 70 something pages. So we're going to try to slim this down. We're going to group things together that most other municipalities do. You know, our goal as staff is to give you precise and accurate consolidated information. But if you ever want the granular detail, we provide that as well for you in the background. But overall, what we're looking at here is we're looking at about well, the first one here, we look at year end through September 2024. All this data here should already be itemized in the audit report. So what we'll do as staff is we'll make sure that when the auditor is finished, signed, sealed, and delivered his audit report, we will go through and we will tick and tie to make sure that our numbers agree with what the auditor has. And so the audit report is there's a lot there. You have many different funds. But if you give us another quarter, we'll be able to give you a consolidated 3-page, where's my cash at? How much cash do we have? How is each fund doing? And that's our goal.
David, if I could interrupt for a second. First, I want to note for the record that Tracy has come back on, so we have a quorum again. And David, the question that I've got for you, I suspect that the committee is going to want to reconvene in a couple of weeks when they've had a time to digest that. And the 3-page report, the synopsis, if you will, do you think you'll be able to have that for us at the next meeting in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, we can pull, I even have an example of it, but I don't know if I can share my screen with you. All I know is that most other boards and committees, they usually like a much more succinct dashboard of where the town's at, where the town should be at, and is it heading in that direction? And so it's hard to tell when you get 73 pages, of detail. But when you get a 3-page succinct by fund where balances are, you're able to tell that probably within the first 10 minutes of reviewing it. So that's exactly where I think we should go. And but if the board members have any questions, it's hard to disseminate from this, but we will make it much more succinct, and we'll hit the ground rolling, and we'll get you a draft and see what else you would like to see. But the main takeaway for local governments really is, how are we performing as compared to our budget? And at the end of the day, that's vitally important. Number one, because you passed a budget in a public hearing that basically says that the town will not go above that budget. You can go below it, but you can't go above it without having a budget amendment. And so we'll look at that. And typically the snapshot dashboard type of view is really the best and succinct way to deliver that information.
David, can I interject for a second?
Please.
This is not complex to me. I'm very comfortable with this, and I would not like you to condense anything without discussing with FAC first.
Okay.
In other words, you can add a summary to it. That's your prerogative, and I welcome that, but not at the expense of the detailed item-wise data that we would need. So before you condense these reports, that's good, but I would not compromise the details that we have to go through.
Okay, no problem.
Anybody else have any comments?
I also would like to see the details, but I think a comprehensive summary would be useful on top of that, because I think looking at the
I agree.
details would help us a lot. So, but it's, especially for the council, I think they're better off with a good concise summary, but I would like to see the detail also.
Yeah, I would like both.
Thank you. Continue, please. Let's go into the actual data. Please walk us through the different quarters and give us some high-level analysis. Thank you.
Sure. So again, on the first, I guess it's page Let's go up here. Let's go to, looks like, well, as I said, on pages 70, let's see, 70, 72, 73 is basically what you've paid each of your vendors throughout the year. And then starting in page 74, here is your general fund. What you're looking at again, this is all this data that you see here. You just had the auditor report audited financial statements. So all of these numbers should be summarized in the audited financial statements, since we're looking at September 30th, 2024. So this right here is the granular detail by GL line number. Now, in the general fund, you have departments. Now, you won't see departments in other funds. The reason why is because the fund name describes the department. But in the general fund, it being general in nature, you have, for example, all the different departments. So the first page there, 74, and at the top of 75 is all your revenues that come in through the general fund, okay? Now, when you start there on top of page 75, you have, here's your town, here's your council. This right here is your council. And you have obviously this, we're still looking at September data, but that's how the governmental accounting system is broken down. You have town council, you have administration, you have finance, you have legal, you have a bit of a building department, you have planning, and then you have code enforcement, law enforcement, information technology, and then really your non-departmental, right there towards the bottom of page 77, is really those expenditures that can be allocated to the other departments.
Not very much.
Yeah. And so, and that's fine, Tracy, as you noted, right? Because the way you want to allocate your cost is, hey, if I can't have a cost that is directly related to a department, then what I can do is I can put it in kind of like an overhead category, and then maybe allocate those costs, maybe based on full-time equivalent staff or some other measure to allocate that. Now, you after the general fund, you have a fund which is just for transportation. You'll notice that transportation doesn't have any departments in it. The reason why is because it's its own fund, and it doesn't need departments. So here you see the transportation fund there. You have the revenues and expenditures in there. The other item that you have is the local option sales tax. That fund there is Fund 103. By the way, we'll have to double check, but I think that's coming to an end. The Florida legislature ended that, I think, December 2025. No longer that local option sales tax will be collected and remitted and transferred to the local governments. So that's something that's coming down the road. You have your water fund, I guess a water control district. And see, really, there on the bottom of page 78, you can tell where you get the money from that. Well, that comes from the road and canal maintenance assessment. So you assess each of your residents for some type of an assessment that goes towards this fund. You'll notice that it doesn't go into the general fund. It goes into this water control fund. And the idea really is that we want to be able to match up the purpose for what we are taxing or assessing our residents, and we want to make sure that it's in the proper category so that we can track those expenditures. And so there below there, you see we have salaries and retirement and rental, all this operating stuff. See, what I technically do is you can see salaries and wages and overtime and special pay and all that other jazz. But see, I group that all up into salaries and related. And then what I do is I look at that over time. I just don't look at it in one period in time. So and this right here is obviously a big fund, but at the end of the day, as of you know, at the end of the year, you would refer actually to your audited financial statements to see, hey, did my revenue and fund balance equal that 83,200? Now, you also have what's called a capital improvement fund. Now, what a capital improvement fund is, it's just a fund to track your projects. How does that fund get money into it? Well, it gets money into it by transfers from the other funds. And that's why you'll see up here at the bottom of page 80 is a lot of transfers. You have some FEMA dollars. You have some grant dollars that come in, right? But at the end of the day, it's a lot of transfers and contributions from all the other funds, okay? And then below it, there on page 81 through the top of 82 is a detailed list of all your projects that you have going on and the detail of what the budget was versus what the actual was. And then you have your solid waste fund. Typically, your solid waste fund is your hauler, your garbage company that collects it. Typically, you have an assessment that goes on the property tax bill for that. And you can see there that the biggest expenditure in that line item on page 82 is the solid waste contract. And that's very typical. Now on pages, it looks like 83 through, oh man, it looks like 83 through 91. It looks like it got cut off there. So I don't know why. So I probably can't really comment on that page. Now, the next page is your balance sheet. It's the balance sheet through December 31st, 2024. You'll notice that it's unaudited and unadjusted. And so these are your items in your balance sheet. You know, most of the time, your biggest asset is cash and receivables. Sometimes your biggest asset is your fixed assets. But at the end of the day, that's what that's showing. Liabilities, it's showing what you owe at that particular time as of December 31st, 2024. And then it has fund balance. Fund balance is really the same thing as equity. Okay, it's what it is it's just like if you bought a house and you're paying down the liability, the mortgage company or whatever, what is your equity? And that's what really fund balance represents. And you have that, and the reason why we have so many different balance sheets is because we have different funds. Each fund has to be a self-contained set of books. It has to have its own balance sheet and its own statement of revenues and expenditures. And then you obviously have your local option sales tax fund in there with their fund balance, and you have the water control district with their fund balance and their liabilities. And then you also have your capital improvement fund that we discussed. But this right here is more on the balance sheet of life. The revenues and expenditures are an accumulation over time for that fiscal year. The balance sheet summarizes it as of that day. On page, let me see, on page 97, you have, again, your solid waste. We talked about that. We talked about that's that big contract with your hauler. Now, if we go to page 98, well, we have the first quarter of your revenues and expenditures here for your first quarter. Now, typically, your ad valorem tax dollars, you collect 80-something% of that by January, February, March. You collect such a big portion of that. But those funds have to last you the entire year. And so that's why we make sure that we're always looking at budget versus actual. Now, also all your other revenues there, other than your ad valorem, those right there are established by the state of Florida, whether it be through sales tax, gas tax. You have certain franchise fees. Municipal, local governments have franchise fees with providers of utilities because the municipality can run their own utility, but they're allowing a professional organization to do that. And in exchange, they pay the local government a franchise fee. But you know, at the end of the day, at the page 99, you have here your revenues. You know, you have your revenues through year to date, which is October, November, December for the first 3 months. You have your budget here, and you have your balance, and you have a percentage of through December 31st, and then you have FY24. That it compares it to what it was last year. But I think that we can definitely improve on that. This right here is again some more now we're going into, this is your town council. Here is what it was for the first 3 months. What the budget was, and what's the balance. Right now at this stage of the game, it's very early. It's hard to distinguish what items are going to be going over budget, what items are going to be under budget, but it's just factual data that comes out of the system. We go into each one, you'll see there, like for example, on page 102, this is the finance department. This is their budget, this is their actuals, and this is their balance. On page 103, you'll have your legal fees. Now, that is not all your legal fees. That is obviously just the legal fees that go towards the general fund. Okay, because remember, legal fees, there are going to be legal fees in the general fund. There's going to be legal fees sometimes in your solid waste fund, sometimes in your transportation fund. So legal fees will be sprinkled out through.
David, if I might interject, and I know we're trying to go through this, and I know the committee has not had much of an opportunity to review things, and we unfortunately gave them probably the most salient information that they would have to review for the upcoming the current year just this evening at their places, and that is the March 31st numbers, and those represent where we are at the midway point.
Okay.
And I apologize that the agenda did not have them included. There was an apparent mix-up in us producing the agenda, and ultimately that's my responsibility because I'm the liaison. So
No,
when you look at the budget to actual, and as I indicated in my cover memo, there are some areas of concern that we currently have and are going to need a budget amendment on. For example, with respect to legal fees, over the first 5 months, we have expended the budget that was allocated for that. Those legal fees, other than cost recovery, which is an in and out kind of deal and doesn't affect the budget that much, because when the attorneys do cost recovery, we send the bills to the folks that are developing in town and the who have applications in, and they reimburse us for those costs. But aside from that, what we had budgeted last year was $193,000 in for general services, and then there was about $33,000 that was budgeted for code enforcement. And those funds have been expended. I've talked to the town attorney, and he anticipates that there's going to be about $30,000 a month for the remainder of the year. He also sent us a bills for $44,000 for March, which was the 6th month of the year. March 31st doesn't reflect on an issue like legal services, or where you're looking for a vendor to provide you services. That's generally 5 months that you see here, because we get the bills for the work that they did in March. And that's also why at the end of the year, September 30th is not the close of your books. You have to receive invoices for the work that was done prior to September 30th, and you pay that. And so those things are generally paid by 1031, and sometimes it extends a little bit over. So for some of these things, there's a bit of a lag time. For things like salaries and those kind of things, those are up to date, if you will. They're not a month behind. But in any event, with respect to legal services, we're looking at a budget amendment of about $230,000. So that is an area of concern. We also are, the council had directed in November for us to reconsider the TPA. And so we're going to propose a budget amendment to our capital improvement plan of another $100,000 to cover those costs. In addition, on the capital side, there's some good news in that the culvert and drainage bid that came in produced very good prices for us. So we're going to have some savings in that area. One of the things that we're proposing to use the savings for is taking our in-house crews off of 161st and contracting for those services to complete the swale work there, so that our in-house folks can get out to A Road Canal and expand essentially the roadway area by stabilizing the canal bank. And that was all part of the budget that you all recommended, or your predecessors recommended to the council. But those folks, our in-house folks, are going to move over and begin to do that work. There is also if you'll recall in the budget, there was work to be done in the tangerine and citrus area. There are some areas there that flood, and before you want to improve the roadways, you really have to take care of the drainage. I think we had budgeted $50,000 to begin the planning on that. And I think that number is going to be somewhere in the area of $87,000. There's an $87,000 shortfall. So we will be coming to you and to the council for a proposed budget amendment there. In addition, we're restructuring the way we are providing community standards, and community standards is code enforcement, planning and engineering services. We're revamping that, and there may be I'm not sure that there's going to be a budget amendment that is going to be necessary to cover those things, or whether there's going to be able to be reallocated from the general fund. When you look at the March 31st numbers, if you look at them from an overall standpoint, it looks like we're doing pretty well. The big area of concern is on engineering expenses and legal expenses to complete the work that has to be done. Those are the two big areas of concern that I have in reviewing things. And as I said, those will be the subject of a budget amendment that will probably be ready for your review at the extension of the continuation of this meeting that I anticipate you will want to reschedule.
Jeff, can you send that to me?
I did.
I think that
I sent it to your email. Did you not receive it?
Not the updated, no. I only got the 127 page one. The March 25th one was not in it.
I apologize. That's on me, Tracy. I thought I caught your email and sent it to you. I'll go and try it again, okay?
Okay, thanks.
My pleasure.
Okay, any questions before so far?
On the summary that the committee requested, will there be an opinion on that summary and not just information above the granular accounting? That would be my first point. And the second point would be, will that opinion also take into account information prior to you coming on board and this committee starting up? In other words, backdated, sort of ex post facto, back in time. Will that be part of your opinion? Thank you.
To answer your question, no, I don't render an opinion. I give you a staff. I'm basically an extension of your staff. Staff gives you suggestions. We give you data. And we try to paint a bigger picture for you. One thing that we try to do as staff is we try to give you multiple year numbers. We try to look at certain growth rate of numbers and let you know where we give you recommendations, but at the end of the day, you get to make the the final determination based on the data that typically staff brings before you.
I think I missed it. Who are you?
I'm David. I'm with a company that's called Projected Point. I'm a CPA. I'm also the finance director for the town of Highland Beach.
The short version
Go ahead, Jeff. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
You can hear me, right?
Is
Yeah.
Tracy that his services are generally more automated and
Yeah, they seem like they're slowing down, aren't they?
Yeah, for some
Okay.
reason.
Okay, yeah. all right.
We're not hearing anything Jeff's saying.
Yeah, Jeff, you're like,
um, contract, it'll be on for this May meeting for the council.
yeah.
So
yeah,
you've
Jeff,
already
yeah,
brought
you buffered.
them in. Maybe
Tracy,
they're,
could you,
I hear you, but I don't hear them.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Tracy, what's your question? Sorry.
So did we already bring them on? Were they not was this company not voted on by the council?
David has done work for us for the town of Loxahatchee Groves for the last several years in a consulting role, and he has helped prepare our budgets and has been prepping for the transition. But it will not be until the council hopefully approves his contract that he would take over and his firm would become our finance department, as it were.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
No, I'd just like to thank, since I'm a new member, I want to thank David for his explanation because it helped me. So now I can run through the document. So I want to thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, and again, feel free to contact Highland Beach. Those you know, we've turned them around. It's night and day. That town there is a full service town. I know the budget's probably a little bit bigger. But at the end of the day, matter of fact, today I just sent them, they like to have 5-year budgets. So I sent them a 5-year forecast. So that's the amount of planning that you get to do when you're not bogged down with 120 pages of line item detail. You get to look at the bigger picture. And you get to do some forecasting, looking at rates of interest, looking at what's coming down the future. And that's just what we do. We try to automate as much as possible. But our goal is to give you data and make recommendations to you, not for a 1-year span of time, but for multiple years. And yeah, you know, we're here to help and at your service.
Thank you, David. This is Manish. I have some questions here.
Okay.
So may I ask, who do you report to?
I report to Francine and Jeff.
Okay. And since you have this experience working with the city budgets, what's your view of our city? What is do we, so for example, you talked about government effectiveness or efficiency or projections. What's your view on taxes, dollars spent per resident, fixed versus variable cost of the town, testing stress condition? Do we have enough money for, if a flood happens, FEMA is changing their policies on reimbursement. Have you gone into any such high level performance? Because I think we would like to see how we are doing as a town in terms of every dollar being spent and the value being extracted. So if you haven't done that, that's okay. You are new, but I would like you to think about that.
Yeah.
So on that note, let me step back. How did we do in 2024? Budget versus actual. As a CFO, if you have to explain to us, what's that summary? How did we do in financial year 2024? Budget
Oh.
versus actual.
Well, I mean, you came down, you didn't spend all the money that you had budgeted in that year. I think that if we were to look at the page, I think
So,
the,
so wait a second. All right, we didn't spend the money. Why did we not spend the money? Why
well, but
is it that we didn't build certain roads, or we didn't spend money on capital? We didn't hire enough people. Why did we not spend the money?
well, no, I mean, that has nothing to do with it. Projects take longer. You know, we tried to budget for any open positions. I'm trying to go to your,
Okay, that's okay. You can answer these next time. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Yeah,
I think on behalf of the committee, we would like to know what happened in 2024 budget versus actual. Did we
Okay.
over budget, underspend, why, what happened? All right, let's talk about 2025 so far. So Jeff gave us some good news or a bad news. I think mostly in financial terms, I would say bad news, but we will deal with it. So in 2025, we are going to end our year in September, a few months from now. How are we doing? Are we going to overshoot our budget? Do you have any suggestions in mind so we can save some money somewhere? Have you done any analysis? How are we going to do? Where are we going to land in 2025?
No, right.
Budget versus actual.
You're right. Right now, we have 6 months worth of data, right? We have six
Okay.
months worth of data. The next time I probably see you, I can probably give you that
Okay, good.
analysis. You know, we'll look at it really, your revenues will come in. The reason why is because you're talking about ad valorem dollars, right? You're talking about tax dollars. So that money will come in. A lot of times, projects, whether it's supply chain issues, whether it's material issues that are taking
No,
longer.
David, sorry to interrupt you. I understand. I'm saying give us specifics, not generalities. Specifically, okay, these are the 4 things that are delayed. These are the 5 items that we are underspent or overspent. Okay, next question. Is our cash flow, is our free cash well invested? In the last meeting, one of the findings was that we saw that there was some cash kept in the check in the simple account, wasn't invested or accruing interest. So did you take a look at our treasury management? One of the roles of the town manager is also being the chief investment officer. So have you gone into how our free cash is invested? How is our treasury management doing?
Right. No, I have not at this point.
Okay.
The state of Florida has strict rules and
No,
restrictions.
that's okay. We understand those rules. I just want you to, next time when you come, I would like to go over the free cash flow. Like at any point in time, what's our free cash flow?
Okay.
And how are we making sure that that is invested in the best fund under the state laws? So we are making some money on the interest while everybody sleeps. We still collect money on the interest. Okay, next question. Do we have enough cash reserves to meet, some sort of a risk event like a flood or we have to extend some cash flow? I know last time we had just the bare minimum reserves in our funds. So I would like you, if you haven't done it, I would like you to compare this year. I think this was the question of my colleague here. We would like to see how we compare as to the last year or the year before. How is our cash reserve doing? How is our performance as compared to the last year and so forth? Okay, next question is, so you talked about next 5-year projections. We are very soon going to start focusing on 2026. So based on the data that you have, are we in severe shortage or surplus, or how are we doing for 2026? Any comments so far, or you haven't had the time to look into?
Comments. No comments so far. You know, one of the challenges that Loxahatchee Groves has is density, right? You have very large parcels. And whereas the others in Palm Beach, right, they're really packed tight. So when you're talking about your ad valorem dollars are your biggest revenue driver. But you got to be careful, right? You got to balance that out because everybody likes their property values to go up in value, right? But they don't like it when property values go up in value and property taxes go up. So that's the challenge that we have. That's where fiscal responsibility meet head on with political aspirations. But
Absolutely. And David, just
we'll
to
look at
sorry to
that.
interrupt, but I think that's the feature of our town. That's the core spirit. We are an ag town. Our minimal parcels are 5 acres. So
Right.
I think what you said is important here. We want to see the cost discipline, the physical discipline. We know our revenues are limited by our geography or our style, or you can call it our rural spirit. But we would like to see how are we controlling costs. So we can't do certain things that other towns may do because they have high density, high rise, whatever that may be. But in this town, we love our rural town. So we have to live within our means. So I think the point we are making is for 2026, we would like to tighten our belt. If our costs are going too high and we don't have enough revenue coming in, so we have to understand how we are going to create efficiencies there, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, I think we need time to review. Next time we will go deeper into everything. We will start with audit report, and then if that's okay with all, then we will go through each quarterly performance, last year performance, quarter till date. There are 3 quarters basically, so we will go through that. With everybody can send questions in advance. So being the chair, I'll tell a little story. So last year I was vice chair and I learned certain lessons. This was new for me, and I know you are new. So there are certain technicalities here. If we don't do those technicalities, we can't do our job. So you can call it boring job or red tape, but unfortunately we have to abide by those technicalities. So the first technicality is, and remind us if we forget, never end a meeting before setting the next date. Because if you don't do it, then we are at the mercy of the town to tell us what the next date is. And as you can see, last year, the last date was August. It never, I think August or September, that was
August.
it. Right? So let me ask my colleagues here, what is your next availability? I know it's a boring question, but we cannot adjourn this meeting unless we have the date for the next meeting. Sure. Mhm.
Till the 5th of June, I will be unavailable.
25th of May to June 5th. Okay. What about you?
8th of May to the 20, at least the 22nd of May, I will also be out of town and unavailable.
Okay, that's all right. Tracy, how about you?
I'll be in town the next couple weeks.
So you're out. Okay.
No,
So let me,
I'm in town next
oh,
week.
you are in town.
Yeah, I'm in
Okay, so
town Wednesday on and next week. The rest I just don't know yet.
Okay, so it seems to me May 5th, next Monday, same time. It seems that's open with you all? Yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so if I may, is that okay with you, Jeff? 5th May, next Monday?
Will that be ready?
I
What-
think we will be ready with our at least first set of questions with this. We will not go through everything, but we will start covering the ground because then May probably, if people are out, it's a vacation month, so we want. Yeah, that's what I'm proposing. I'm asking the town if they will be available because they have to be available for this.
Can we also?
Mhm.
Can we also get these reports a little bit earlier so
Yeah.
we don't have no time at all to look at them? I
Well,
mean,
here's my
we're
first
not
question.
prepared. We come here but we're not prepared because we haven't had time to look.
Well,
Correct.
here's my first question. I don't know if you have advertising deadlines for this board. I don't know.
They could continue the meeting to May 5th. I'm not 100% sure on room availability.
We can do Zoom. Is that okay with you all if we dial in or if the room?
But first question I've got for you on scheduling things. I think I believe this is the first meeting that we have had the 2 professional consultants come in both of them by Zoom.
Mhm.
Was that an acceptable
Yes.
format for you?
For me, yes.
It's fine. I have a little trouble hearing because it's a little low, but I think it's a better way of getting people together because
Yeah,
you don't have to be in
good.
the same place.
I'm
Okay.
fine. Yes.
Just wanted to make sure that that's okay. And I'm not sure, May 5th, we would probably still be operating off of the same draft audit that you have in front of you. I don't think it'll be that they're planning on issuing it around that time, but once again, I'll be
That's
coming
okay.
to you with the,
That's okay. We have enough to structurally, if you are saying there'd not be any major structural revisions, so we are fine with that. Let's get into the big picture and then
All right.
if something changes, we'll deal. So is it okay, May 5th?
I think that that's okay.
All
We'll
right. So the
confirm-
motion to
I'll confirm with
have
the
our
staff,
next
yeah.
meeting on May 5th at the same time.
I second it.
Second, all in favor?
And
Yes?
David,
Aye.
are you available?
Sure. I think because I have a meeting, May 6th at Highland Beach. So I'll be in town and, I'll try to get this data, electronically so I can put it, so I can just show you guys, in my opinion, what a nice clean dashboard looks like in order to, and then what else we'll do is we'll take the data that we have and we'll roll it forward, 6 months, making some assumptions, which line items will grow at a straight line basis, which projects, if we don't have any expenditures in the first 6 months, which ones are more likely than not to get off the ground. And we'll go from there. So we'll put together something for you that hopefully, using the same data, that hopefully will give you a little bit better insight.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, the next topic, which is again a technicality but important, is we have sunshine laws and you all went through the training. In other words, we can't talk about this without public being present. So, but at the same time, I encourage you, and I personally do the same. You have been nominated by your respective council member, but it doesn't mean you can't speak to other council members. Please reach out to neighbors, to residents, to people, ask their inputs. There are a lot of smart people in the town. So please, as a part of this committee, your job is, or your responsibility is your voice, but also voice of our residents. So I would encourage us as a committee to involve residents in these meetings. There are a lot of experts here. So in the next meeting, hopefully some good residents will come in. I know a lot of good brains are sitting here. We would love your inputs as well. Is that okay?
Just a note on that subject. Remember, it is perfectly okay to talk to all those folks that Manish indicated. What you have to be concerned about is that you end up talking to the same person and Sue, somebody tells you, well, Manish thinks that. And at that moment in time, you've got to cut the conversation off because that person probably inadvertently can become a conduit to a sunshine law violation. And that's problematic for everyone, most importantly, you.
My point is, we can't talk to each other than when we are in public. But at the same time, Lord, not this red tape come in your way. Reach out to, you are all mature professionals, so you can't say what is Manish thinking or what is Tracy thinking, but you are here to get to your council members and others and residents and people and get their inputs. And finally, I think there was a paper provided here in your packet. This was the last meeting we had from the last year of the FAC. And you will see here a lot of work was done. I haven't seen through it. This is the first time I'm seeing a summary of that meeting. But whatever work we did, and there were some great people on the previous FAC, and all that knowledge is in these 3 or 4 pages. Please read through and
We'll put that back on the agenda for your approval next.
yeah, we will
at the
review it and
continuation meeting.
yes. So, but I think as a practice, as a good practice, I would like to next year, hopefully, when new members come in, we would like to give them a handover. So people from the last year should hand over their knowledge, institutional knowledge. It would be great if the previous chair or could come in and say, okay, this is what we thought. This is what we thought were the areas to be focused on. So I will invite previous chair or somebody who was involved in this good work, previous committee members to come in and share their direct knowledge with us as well. So with that being said, we have, I think, covered this particular item. Our last item is, there is another item on the agenda.
Yeah, there's the Bove Company here, and they are going to present their analysis of the financial impact of the proposed paddock park on the town's revenues. And they're going to
So Jeff, before we do that, could you give us a little background? What stage without revealing any confidential information, what stage are they?
That's
Their
fine.
project is, and is this something we should be looking at for other projects? What is your view on that?
This actually, I think, goes to something that your predecessors and you being a part of the predecessor
Right.
committee had indicated they wanted to look at the financial impact of proposed projects.
Absolutely, yes.
And where this project is at, this is the paddock. It is a proposed resort RV establishment. It is proposed to be located off of Sea Road, I'm sorry, east of Sea Road, south of Collecting Canal. Mr. Bove is here. He'll probably give you a brief introduction, but he really wants to talk about what they would offer to the town and their financial impact to the town. This is, I think, the first time that this is being presented, and we'll see. I mean, this is the first time we have had a developer come to the FAC. It was based on the FAC's previous indication, direction, and they are proposing some significant revenues coming in aside from just the ad valorem taxes. And I don't want to steal anybody's thunder.
No, but the point I'm making is I welcome this because I think I am of the view, and my previous committee members, and I would love to hear the members now, what's their view. Any project, our first thing is to make sure it is not a burden on the town. So it's not revenue negative. And ideally speaking, it should be revenue positive. But we are also limited in our scope. We are not the right people to decide the impact of the town. For example, the neighbor next door or the zoning or the traffic, there are many considerations.
All of those things are happening, and I'm sorry I wasn't more clear and direct on where they are. I believe they are scheduled to go to the planning zoning.
Lost him again.
Yeah, right. It just seems like it cuts out.
At least it's not just
Board for review application. It includes a number of steps. There's rezoning down to site plan issues that are going to be presented. So that's the current schedule. At the council, it is not a situation in which the council could approve the project on June 3rd. At best, for the development, they would get approval, and then there are some comp plan issues, which means it goes to the state. It takes about 90 days or so to come back. And so second readings in a best case scenario for the applicant would be in that September, October time period, and that's when actual approvals could happen. What can happen on June 3rd is denials, and that could end the project. And
So
don't
that, I
have-
mean,
not
that's
coming
my
back in
point.
October.
Yeah, so I think what I would suggest is that in the interest of our collective time and resources, it would be good that if a project has completed certain threshold and that universal standard apply to any project that is coming your way, we welcome that presentation, but we want to make sure that this project has cleared that threshold so that we are not, spending time into something. But since they are here, I welcome them to present.
And Joe, I know that you got a handout, or did we give them the handout, Amber?
Tracy, I used your ESI footing email. Should I be using a different one?
Tracy at ESI footing, yes.
Yes, did you receive it this time?
Let me look.
Like I put this on this as well when I emailed it, so.
Well, good
Got it.
evening to the FAC committee. Can you all hear me?
Tracy, you're okay?
Mhm.
You can hear?
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for the introduction and kind of high level of where we're at with things. So I'm mostly here tonight just to talk about the finance and how it relates to the town budget. And so Jeff did a good job teeing up as I said, the status of where we are with our applications. I've met most of you all, and again, I appreciate your time tonight. So to get into the core of this discussion, and what you have in front of you is an analysis of the tax, the non-ad valorem and ad valorem effects that the RV resort would have. And before I get into the details on that, though, these are revenue sources, and so these are not related to some of the other benefits that do have financial advantages for the town. And I'll just quickly go through those before I get into the numbers on the tax and other impact fee benefits. And so the first on that is, and if you've been to our workshop meetings, if we've met before, the application is proposing to dedicate 8.75 acres of land for trail use. And that is a dedication of the land. So if that were to be put on the town's balance sheet, there's value associated with that. And that's item number one. In addition, and Manish, you raised a good point on how projects should not be impacting in any way the town and only adding value. And that is the case all the way through with our project. To that point, for C Road, which is the project entrance, we will be responsible entirely for those improvements, which is town right of way and an improvement that will be gained for paving C Road and installing utility infrastructure and also constructing a fishing pond at the end of C Road in the right of way, which can also double as a drainage improvement basin for an impoundment source. And so all of those things have real value, and that's not what the analysis is in front of you, which again, I'll get to in a second, but I first just want to start with those couple of things. You know, we've had many meetings, we've had a lot of outreach, and so we've gotten to the core of the town's comments on what it is that they want the project to provide. And I think in hearing tonight's discussion too on the budget, it's clear that a source of revenue is much needed, and this project offers, and as I'm about to again get into those details, a very substantial effect on the overall bottom line. So to start, what's in front of you on the first page is some information that you are already aware of, but it's pertinent to the discussion. So I'll just highlight that quickly. The first thing is that the total ad valorem taxes paid to Palm Beach County is 19.27 millage points. The town of Loxahatchee Groves receives 3 of those. And so for the RV resort project, if you go to the middle of the page, we had a 47-acre property and an estimated assessed value of $25 million. And that is determined because our project budget is 45 million. Ad valorem in the county typically assesses properties in a couple of different ways, which I won't get into, but more or less 25 is a pretty conservative assumed assessed value for the future project and its tax base. So of that 25 million on the assessed value, that would result in $480,000 of annual tax bill, and that's ad valorem tax total. And again, that is the total 19 mills to Palm Beach County. So 3 millage points of that is equivalent to $75,000. And so that would be the town's portion, if you will, from the ad valorem. I'll get into how that affects the overall budget here in a minute. So to just continue into the non-ad valorem component of how revenue is given to the town, each property is assessed non-ad valorem by $200 per acre into the road and drainage fund and $450 to the property's solid waste. So that means each property in the town is assessed $450 for solid waste services annually, and that goes into the non-ad valorem tax bucket. I believe, if I'm correct, some properties are assessed twice, but whatever the case, that's how that math works. So in the RV resorts case, that would then result in $9,400 of non-ad valorem tax. So, and that is because it's 47 acres, so that would pay $200 per acre into the roads and drainage bucket, and then it would actually not pay the 450 of the solid waste because there's a solid waste agreement, which is a separate item below, and I'll get to that in a second. So when you total the projected ad valorem revenue and non-ad valorem revenue from the RV resort, that total is $84,000. Then down below, the commercial trash franchise fee, that figure, and what that is, the town receives 10% in a franchise fee for properties that aren't residential, in our case, rural recreational. So we would pay the trash provider that the town has an agreement with the property demand and the projected schedule of pickup. That would amount roughly to $50,000 or about $4,000 a month in trash service. Of that, the town gets the 10%, the franchise fee. So that is, if you will, our contribution of the $450 that the residential properties pay. And so we're covering that and some at 5,100.
Sorry to interrupt. Could you
Sure.
accelerate? We have maybe another 10 to 15 minutes. Could you give the big picture and then?
Yes, I can do that. Okay. So that is big granular, but the total amounts from the non-ad valorem and such is the $84,000. So why I'm here today and really the main point of the discussion, we've heard from residents as well as council that, you know, we've been talking about these financial contributions, and there's been question as to how exactly, what are the mechanics and how is that going to get done? And how can we assure the town that this is real? And so that leads then into these 3 options. And so we've been working with our attorney who has been in touch with the town attorney, and each of these items are getting put into an agreement, and they will be contingent on a couple of things, which I'm about to explain. So the first impact fee structure of payment to the town, option number one would be that upon the certificate of occupancy, meaning when the project gets its completion and its ability to open, the project would pay a one-time impact fee to the town of $500,000. And that would go into likely the general fund of the town. And then in addition, at year three, the stabilized occupancy. And what I mean by that is year one would be the start of construction. Year two would be the first year of operation. And year three would be when the property's been marketed well enough where there's people and it's occupied at a level that we can then additionally fund source to the town. And at year three, stabilized occupancy, that would be $25,000. So option number one, if you will, is $500,000 up front and then a recurring $25,000 in addition to the $84,000 for a sum total of roughly $100,000 annually to the town of Loxahatchee Groves. And that is after the one-time impact fee of $500. The second option would be, rather than the $500,000 up front, $125,000 recurring beginning at year three when there's stabilized occupancy, plus the $85,000 roughly for the tax, and that totals over $200,000. The third option would be a revenue sharing or a profit sharing configuration where there's more potential upside for the town over the course of a 10 or 20-year period. It would amount roughly to option two, which is $200,000 a year. The exact details of that, and if council is interested, and I think, seeking input from you all too, that would be to be determined. So if I may, and then I won't spend much time on anything further. Those were the main 3 points to present. But as it relates, if you look on the second page to the town budget, and as was discussed tonight, the total ad valorem revenue for the town currently as a whole, all 7,500 properties, is $1,727,000. And so what we're saying is the RV resort would amount for $75,000 or an increase of 4.3%, which is substantial if you look at it as just one of the properties in the town. The second thing is the road and drainage bucket, the $1.5 million that the revenue that is on the budget, and that is from the town's non-ad valorem. And that is where, depending on which option would be put forth, option one of a one-time $500,000 contribution would be equal to 33% of that total budget line item. And so these are very substantial and impactful, and we think that it certainly should be of interest to the town. It's something that should really be given a hard and further study and hopefully acceptance of one of those three. So the last thing I would like to point out is the reserve was mentioned tonight, and as I understand it, because I've been studying this budget as well, the total sources that the town has is the 4.1 that's on your sheet. And there, by policy, as I understand, is that there has to be 25% that is the threshold that essentially can't be touched of that amount. And the town has roughly $1.5 million of that million. So there's 500,000, if you will, of free funds that exist or dollars that could be touched if chosen to do so. But at the same time, that would then bring that to the total reserve. So the point of all that is these three options can help contribute to the reserves fund and really build up the minimal amount that exists in place today. The 500 could be used upfront for a capital improvement project. It could be used for road infrastructure, any paving projects, canal bank stabilization, anything depending on council's choice. And so then as far as the annual, it was mentioned tonight too that the local sales tax is coming to its its 10-year term of the 335,000 roughly, which will be going away next year. And so one of these options would also present the ability to just get 200,000 annual to the town. So, the other couple of things on your detail, which I can leave for you to take a look at later, those are just comparing the use of this property in its current form compared to the use that it is approved at or currently zoned for as a 1 per 5 acre, 1 unit per 5 acre, which would amount in 10 lots. The impact, the gain that would provide to the town is $28,000 net from the existing. Right now, the property only generates for the town $9,600 because they're all bona fide ag or they have cattle or whatever the case. So there's very little dollars that the town gets as it currently stands. At a 1 per 5, it would be $38,000. And so what the rural recreation zoning offers, and that being the RV resort, is 579,000 off the net, 204,000 recurring annual off the net, or 179, excuse me, recurring from the net. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but that's really what I had for you all tonight. And I think it is very relevant to the finance committee and to the town budget. So we wanted to be sure to get it in front of you all and share where we're at and the financials.
Thank you, Dave. Any public comments?
I have a question.
Please.
So I'm
Sorry.
looking,
Basically,
I'm
one
look-
second.
Oh, go ahead.
Public comments. Do you have any comments? Okay, please. Go ahead, Tracy. I apologize. Go
so
ahead.
I'm looking at the sheet. Currently, that assessed value of all those properties is only $13,899. How are you coming up with an assessment value of 850,000 per 5 acres each, which equals 79990? How are you getting from 13,000 assessed value to almost $8 million?
Yes. Yeah, good question. So the 13,000, as you said, is currently what it's assessed at. The 7,000,009, that would be in the scenario that the property is used for 8, and actually it's 10 because it's 47 acres, 10 single family residential lots at 1 home per 5 acres. And the assessed value per 5 acres being $850,000.
But that's
So
not,
that's a hypothetical. That's a
yeah, but that's not
hypothetical.
what's being proposed.
I'm sorry?
That's not what you're proposing, though. You're proposing
Correct.
how
That-
many units per 5 acres, or how many units per 40 of the 47 acres.
Yeah, that is not what's being proposed. You're correct. I just wanted to start from a net and look at what it currently is versus what it could be at the current zoning, so that they're all being compared apples to apples, and that we're not saying we're adding 85,000. It's the difference between the 85,000 that the RV resort would generate versus 37,000 if it were the 1 per 5. However, that's just for the taxes, of course, and then there's the additional impact fees that would be paid on
Right.
top of that.
But that's not apples to apples. When you build a 5 acre, say, farm or home or whatever somebody's building on 5 acres, this is completely different. Your assessed value, you don't have any infrastructure, basically. You're having a lot where somebody could put an RV on. Or
So are you saying that the assessed value of the RV resort at 25 million is what you're questioning? Are you questioning the 850,000 on the hypothetical as if they were built as one parcel per 5 acres?
Actually,
One
both.
property.
both?
Both?
Mhm.
Well, so land in Loxahatchee Grove is valued at anywhere from 120,000 maybe up to 200 depending on the location. So at 5 acres, 120,000 per acre is 600,000, and then that leaves 250,000 if you were to build a maybe 2 or potentially 3-bedroom home. But in addition, the assessed value of your home isn't, especially if you homesteaded, it's not going to be the full. You might have a home that's $1 million. You might be all in at $1 million, but your property assessment is going to be less than that. So that was how that 850 was figured. But those could be, again, it's a hypothetical. So if it were assumed that the value was more than that, if that was to be $1 million per 5 acres, that the tax amount would be paid, then maybe you'd be looking at that in that hypothetical that those 10 parcels would generate 44,000 in ad valorem and non-ad valorem revenue to the town.
But there's no infrastructure. They're basically assessing a pad for an RV. That's my confusion.
Okay. So
A
no, what
home
I
or
was
a-
just talking about was again the hypothetical that if you were to take the property and use its current zoning and build 10 homes on 5 acres apiece for the roughly 47. That's what those numbers were about. The assessed value and how we're getting to the $480,000 that the RV resort would pay to the county, and then the 85 that the town would get. That $25 million assessment is because, as I said, the budget is 45 million, and the property appraiser looks at revenue. There's a couple of different ways that the assessed value is determined. One of those would be the amount of revenue being generated by that property each year. And this math was actually given through a professional market study that we had performed. So the 25 million could be low. That was more of a conservative use for the time being.
So basically, these numbers you gave us are just really hypothetical and not really actual.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that they are conservative in the assumptions. I mean, this is that's just, we're talking about the ad valorem estimate, which is maybe a swing of $5,000 to $10,000. The real thing that we're saying here is that we're willing to pay to the town $500,000 up front as an impact fee at CO, and then a $125,000 annual recurring payment to the town that we're locked into, that is to be paid, that is not an estimate. The 85,000 is an estimate, and as I said, that maybe is a difference of $5,000 or $10,000. So that's really on the smaller side of things.
Thanks.
But when we originally discussed that, it was extra money, but talking about the 500 I was given the impression that there was no legal way of enforcing that, and there seems to be a statement here that is an impact fee, which may not be legal.
Yes.
Something
Yes. So yeah, it's a good question, Sue. So at some of our workshops, we were showing, or it was that it was a 2% revenue that 2% of the revenue would equal the 200,000. We've since, and again, because council wanted the assurance that it would be paid and that it is going to be 100% contractual. The better way to do it is through an impact fee. And that is what's being documented by our attorney in conjunction with coordination with the town attorney. So that in ever which, however it is legally determined that the best way to do so would be, that's what is going to be assured and papered and solidified prior to any approvals. There is a legal mechanic to do that, and those are being explored right now and have been further to the point of determining that way than at any point in time before that.
I can't hear her.
Yeah, same here.
I think Tracy's having a hard time hearing it. Is the mic on?
Sorry. And that inflation kills those numbers very quickly. Even though it doesn't seem like today, but in 5 years, it becomes very obvious. So I was wondering if option 2 should or be recommended to the council that they have some sort of an inflation adjusted number in there. Though I'm not
Yes.
sure if that's not what you were trying to do with option number 3, but not sure.
Yes. So option 3, it does increase each year and up to 6% again, and that's based on projected project revenue. And so I think that to just answer your question simply, that is something that we can consider and provide in option 2, is that it could be a 2%, 3% annual increase, or to be determined every 5 years as to what that percentage, maybe should be to account for inflation.
Okay, and the other one is sort of looking at revenue sharing.
And that's the third option.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. Dave, thank you for the presentation. As we said earlier, we are going to wait on the other committees to say to us that your project is a go, so we can do a detailed financial assessment, but we can provide some initial insight. So here are some questions from me. Number one, what is the breakdown? You said $45 million investment you're bringing. So could you, just a big picture wise, what is the investment in the land and in the infrastructure of that 45 million? What is the breakup?
Yes. Land about 20%, improvements, vertical improvements at about 10%, and the remainder being all of the horizontal, the site work, the amenity, the
What percent is land and what percent is
20% is land.
20% land, and 80% you're saying of 45 million invested in the town with your infrastructure, whatever you're going to build. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. So how are you financing this 45 million? In other words, this is none of my business, but from the town's perspective, what is the assurance that you have the money to withstand stress testing,
Yes.
economy and other? So what's your help us understand what is the financial stability of this 45 million? How are you raising it?
Yes. Yeah. It'll be recourse. And so the loan, there's no bank that will loan you money and allow it to fail. I mean,
What is the equity of this 45 million? Can you share? What's the equity? What's the leverage?
right now, LTV at banks is low to mid 60s.
Okay. Okay. And who is this you are investing cash or is there a partner?
Yes, we're a portion of the cash and we have partners.
But you
that
are the
we've-
lead investor. in
General
this.
partner. Yes.
Okay, so you are the general partner, you have limited partners.
Yes,
And they are investing 40% equity, 60%.
correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So to help me understand, all these projections rely on certain occupancy rate, right? So so help us understand what is the assumption behind how many units of RV capacity are you envisioning? And what percent of occupancy you're envisioning when it goes live? What's your typical business plan assumption? How many units of
Yes.
RV?
So we've broken it out into the 3 different seasons in the
Okay.
RV resort world. That's
Total capacity. What is the total capacity of the RVs?
the total capacity at 100% would be 288.
288 RVs.
Correct. The average occupancy across the year, so an annual average would be 59%.
Okay. All right.
The-
This is above our pay grade to comment on whether we can handle this traffic population. That's not our area, but it seems a lot. Okay, so next question is the following. So let's say you said the town is going to be net positive, making a lot of good money, right? That's our objective, to make sure we do, and
Yes.
we are not left with some unfinished project or half-baked thing
Right.
so that it turns into some worse situation for the town. So let us understand. Let's talk about the cost. So with these 288 RVs coming, there is going to be law enforcement, there is going to be traffic, roadways, cost to the town. So how do you accommodate for that additional cost? There is additional revenue, I understand, 500K or over a period of time. So how is town getting paid for the additional cost that it is going to incur for this additional traffic management and additional
Right.
people coming and so forth?
Well, I think traffic, first and foremost, the property driveway is off Southern Boulevard. And as I said, as far as the construction portion, that'll be paid entirely by us. There will be no contribution from the town for the paving and improvements. As far as the ongoing maintenance, I can't see it being much on the 700 feet of driveway that it's only to our property that
You will be responsible for the maintenance or town?
we haven't determined that yet.
Okay, but let's talk about the other costs, law enforcement,
Sure.
public safety cost, et cetera, et cetera. Who's
Yep.
going to?
So first, I just want to point out that the trash is covered and the town actually benefits on that because of the
That's
franchise fee.
10%. I got it. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
whatever it is. It is okay.
So at one point we did look at the impact of the police and deducted that from the net revenue, if you will, to the town. I mean, I know that the town budget for police and fire is roughly $650,000 a year. So if you want to assume that the RV resort would impact that by 5%, then that's
No, I would like from you, since you guys are the expert in this segment, you know how many a RV park like this, what is the public safety, how many calls get done and
yes, yeah,
all that stuff. You will have some point of view. Anyway, so think about that. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about stress test. So help us
Sure.
understand.
On that point, though, Manish, if I could, just on the impact,
Right.
it's hard to quantify exactly what percentage. I think 5%, as I threw out there, is probably.
But you will
that.
pay. The point is you guys
Yeah,
will
the
pay.
point is it will get covered.
Okay,
And-
you
and
will cover.
And just, quickly, our research, we've called all of the RV parks
Right.
and resorts in the town and looked at police records. It's minimal. We're having our RV consultant and property manager come to an upcoming meeting who is very engrossed and has a lot of expertise and will reassure and be able to speak on how the local municipality may be affected and really won't. is the
Look,
point.
personally speaking, this is not fact thing. Individually, I told you, if you assure that every RV person coming in will be background checked, like Airbnb does, or
Correct.
if you give town that sort of a confidence, then people will be open to listening. At least I will be. So,
Yes.
but
and
anyway,
we've said that
nonetheless,
that will happen after
nonetheless,
30 days.
I think those costs, so public safety, you will cover as per your discussions. Now, let's talk about the town time, right? So my understanding is if they evaluate a project, they get reimbursed for the cost,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
So they will be having more code enforcement. They have to go there to check for everything. So that's their prerogative. They have to calculate something along those lines. So I think I'm saying is that when we look at cost versus revenue generation, we have to look at all the costs so we can then provide a clear view. Like, okay,
Yes.
this is the net. These costs are shared by RV company. These costs are assumed by the town or responsibilities, and hence this is the net,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. I'm following.
So let's talk about stress test now. What is your stress? How do you assure us that your company has the cash flow to withstand, whatever ups and downs of the economy? Maybe first year there'll be less occupancy, next year. How are we not at risk of this project getting delinquent?
Yes. So, I mean, as I said, the bank is very, very strict, and they run stress tests, and we run our own. And there isn't a bank that's going to loan you money knowing that it's
I
going to fail.
listen, I appreciate that, but I can't just go to our council members say, oh yeah, Goldman Sachs trusted it. So I don't know who your bank is, but my point is, yes, that's good. If bank has validated all the business plan and you can share that, that's great. But point we are making is on the business plan, whatever your stress test scenario
Yes.
if you are willing to
If it
share,
doesn't meet, if it doesn't meet our projections and we don't get the revenue that we think we're going to get,
right?
then the property value is less than what we projected. Ideally, it's at least what we build it for. And I think that's your minimum.
So in your provisions, if the project doesn't go as financially planned, then somebody takes over the control of the
That is
project.
one way that it could be
And that
done.
control is by whom, as per?
Well, it
Current-
could be from the bank.
By bank.
It could be, but
Could
the
you
banks
share
don't.
the bank? Is it local? Is it national? Is it
We've
Wall
been
Street?
talking to a number of different ones. We don't have.
Okay, you don't have to
finance.
share if it is confidential, but at some point, if it is a reputable bank
Yes.
and it's not but it's the legal department in town, they are experts in it. I mean, what we are concerned with is if there is a stress scenario, who takes control over the property, and then what are their rights in that case, and what are
Yeah.
town's right
Yes.
from the financial point of view? That's our scope.
Yeah.
What other things? That's their expertise. Okay.
Well, and then just to reassure too on the zoning piece, it couldn't revert to anything else. And I know that's been the topic.
Yeah,
That's
is
not what we're talking about tonight, but that would
But
be
Dave,
the case.
it will, people who are listening or will listen, it will go a long way. So please restate what you just said. What is people's worry is that we turn around and once it becomes an RV zone, then you can make a multi-housing
So,
project on top. So what do
yes.
you say to that?
yeah. So what I say is in meetings with council, that came up, and they know that that's a topic, and we are going to put in our conditions of approval a declaration saying that the property is, I'm not an attorney, but stripped of the rights to build multifamily.
So you will in writing agree that you or your assigners, whoever the bank is,
Correct.
in the event that they take control, whoever, you, your
Yes.
parties, others, will never be able to build
right.
you will relinquish that right, even though
right.
it's available or maybe available in the state laws
Yep.
and so forth.
And we will also write that the new Florida statute, the Live Local Act, will not apply and cannot be
Well,
used.
that's their legal job, but I'm just saying that
Yeah.
is a personal issue. All
That's
right.
right.
With that, any other questions, comments?
I've gone through this.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, and two, some of the things we didn't touch on are the additional effects to local businesses for the equestrian, any farms that give horseback riding lessons, the restaurants in town that would benefit from. I was at dinner last night at Booney's, and that was actually discussed. The waitress there agreed that it's good. And, you know, not to mention a lot of resources that would be used and needed during the construction of the project, all of the local nurseries that have material and the labor and not just on the construction side, but once built in order to operate, there'd be job opportunities and other things. So those are things, again.
Yeah, if you have any statement like the secondary beneficial effects to the town, how much increase in
Yes,
agrotourism or additional things can happen, if you want to include that statement next time, you could do that.
yes,
But I think you are here today to pitch for your venture and we respect it. But there are people who are going to be adversely affected for whatever reasons, and they have to present their point of view. So we today heard this, and thank you for this. You got our comments. And then once we get the green signal from the committees that are responsible for this project, then we will dig deeper. But we have enough to have some opinion.
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
happy to share anything
Okay.
else you'd like.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Jeff, what's the process? We are done with this?
If you have a recommendation, or with respect to which option, would be better, or whether or not it should be based on, and I know you don't, that would be difficult, but you could go with, if you had direction to say, pick the one with the, best present value, or, if you say, now, let's go with the big bang up front, or we don't have a conclusion. That would be the only thing, I think, because he presented three options. And if you're able to formulate an
And
impression with
provide
respect to,
additional information that we requested, some color, some comments. You have some questions. Could you send through the town some additional information to review?
What specifically?
We asked you some questions. You can rewatch this video. You will see some questions if you want to add.
Okay.
Otherwise, based on this information,
Are
we will give our best advice. Yeah, we asked you some questions, right? So if you go through those questions, it will give you some, if you want to provide.
Can I ask one
Yes.
quick question? Have you anticipated how many employees and where will they be housed?
Yes, that's a good question.
Sorry,
if you could come up to the microphone.
did you hear me? I'm sorry, I didn't have the mic.
Yes, the question was how many employees do we anticipate and where will they be housed? So in staff comments, that has been a topic, and we currently have the ability to house on site for quarters for employee on a park owned RV site. Whether that is the way that it would be done or not, we can't answer that at this time. We've asked our property manager, and as I said, she will be upcoming to a meeting and can speak more on that topic. But I think overall, to answer your question on how many people it will take, 2 people in the welcome building, 3 in each clubhouse, and simultaneous or kind of in tandem would operate on the maintenance piece too. So I don't think it'd be any more than that, 6 to 8 people. And we've accounted for parking and everything on site. That was a staff comment too.
So do you want to give some advice to him, or we rather wait and consult?
Well, some of them will have to be housed on the property, I would assume, being people who will live there 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not the welcoming committee, but
Yes, there, security will be there, all present at all times. So, but exactly how that gets arranged,
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Do you want to give some insights, like what option you prefer, or you rather absorb all this and then later as a committee?
I want to absorb it.
Absorb?
I can talk about it, we can talk about it at a time.
Okay, so Tracy,
I think we need to absorb it because for me, the 500,000 up front seems like a bribe. So I really want to absorb it more.
All right, let us absorb. If you want to send some more financial, you heard the committee comments. If you want to send something additional, and then we will collectively share our recommendations.
Do you want this item back on for the 5th or?
Yeah, if you you can send us as soon as you can.
Sure.
Are we having to vote on
Thank you all
something?
again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Are we having to vote on something for this?
No, no,
Okay.
not at all. No, not at this time. No. Okay, with that being said, I think we are good.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I
Anybody
second
would
it.
like to? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. All right.
Thank you as always.
We are on for next Monday, right? Okay.
I'm gonna terminate that.